Hello. It is late after 9 o'clock on this Tuesday. Is it Tuesday? Yes. And I just cannot end my work day without sharing this message that's on my heart. And I don't even know if what I titled this about love or fear. I think I said what motivates you most, love or fear. And I don't know if that's ultimately what my heart's message is, but I feel like I don't want to wrap up for the night. Now, no, I did not work from sunup to sundown, but I did take a break in the evening before my patiently enduring class. And it wrapped up a little bit ago. And I had some coaching sessions today, and I coach, all throughout the weeks. And this same theme keeps coming up. And today it was very confirming that it just feels like the ache of the human condition. And so I just feel like if one person or 10 people feel this way while I coach, that it is probably more of a human condition and a human concern than not. So again, before I wrap up for the night, I just have this heavy on my heart, and I want to hold a space for you. I don't even know when you're going to listen to this. I have learned to be brave, to share my heart's message, to go with the divine nudge, because I just feel like we all need to. I'm inviting you into being loved well for a moment. I'll tell you a little bit of the backstory. So very often when I start coaching, I feel like I'm slumping. It's getting late. I felt like I was compressed by the day and I need to sit up straight. So often when I start my coaching sessions, one of the first opportunities I give people is just an opportunity to take a minute or so and just to kind of empty out. So maybe that person can receive even more. And or I ask a common question like, how may I serve you well in this session? What might you want to, if you had a chance to think about it, what might you want to focus on in this session? And it's normal for people to kind of list off, and I take notes and I pay attention to the language that's used. And in this situation, hi Jennifer, how are you? Good to see you. Hi, Deb. And in this situation, there's a lot of real life events with my clients. There's real either health concerns or relational concerns or calendar work-life balance concerns, or just I'm holding a course called Patiently Enduring, and just how to go through these trials and tribulations. And sometimes I'm meeting with people that have dreams, and I'm working with them to achieve them. So it's not all for, heavy concerns, but very often people are wanting the support to get unstuck or to just see what might be there that is limiting their lives. And so very often the thing isn't really the thing. What feels like the main thing isn't really the main thing. And so one of the questions I may ask is, okay, so considering all of that, what fears you the most? I've been using this more direct language, and it's been very insightful. I'm even asking you for a moment, what fears you the most? I started writing down some phrases like, I'm afraid that if I do this, this would happen. I'm afraid that if so-and-so does that, this would happen. I'm afraid when, I'm afraid that if so-and-so does such and such, then such and such will happen, right? Lots of future tripping. I'm afraid your fears telling me, I'm afraid if I do or don't do, I'm afraid of what people think. I'm afraid of. So I've tried to say to people, I try to hold space to see, like, so ultimately, what are you fearing? if all of this is true, which I always believe what my clients are saying, then that's their facts. That's their truth at the time. So what might you be fearing most? And this person specifically, I'm just taking one as an example, but this happens a lot. And this person paused and really had to think, okay, so what is the fear? And the fear is that I'm looking at this, the wording. What fears me most is that I won't be able to keep it all together. What fears me most is that I don't have what it takes to keep this all together. I'm afraid that I'm going to be found out. I'm afraid my weaknesses are going to be exposed. I'm afraid that I don't have what it takes to fill in the blank. So it's so interesting. And I'm sometimes when I pop on and do these lives, it's to hold space for us, because I have one chunk of time in the week, or I did, where it was an open coaching hour and multiple people got an opportunity to be blessed by one person's coaching session or multiple coaching sessions in the hour. But most often, I mean, I'm thinking I would love to have a fly on the wall. And so that people can hear that what this person is dealing with, it's probably a bigger kind of issue with the human condition. And so when I pop on here and share a coaching insight, it's really because I believe it will bless so many people. And when this brave person who continues to show up powerfully for herself week after week said, like, this is the reality of my storm. And we both agreed, yeah, it is a perfect storm. There's a lot going on, including a health condition. I understand. Now, with all that said, what fears you most? What do you fear the most? I hope that in this moment, you're taking a moment to think about, okay, if you could list some of the stressors in your life, if you could list even what's going well with a few stressors, and then pause and ask yourself, just for your own information, okay, so considering all that, what fears you the most? If we asked ourselves that more often, it would be revealing more into our belief system than in the behaviors of our lives. Now, if I'm not careful, which I'm glad I know the difference, if I just go with the main thing that someone's talking about, well, then I'm helping him or her fix work-life balance or relational marriage concerns or relational concerns, hurts from people hurting other people, me hurting someone or someone hurting me. Maybe we could be dealing with priorities and how to prioritize or naming values. I mean, the list goes on and on, but rarely is that really what it's about. So if we just pause for a moment, hi, Ken, hi, Sherry. So if we just pause for a moment and ask, okay, considering that, what is it that I'm fearing the most? So hang in there with me. Would you allow yourself to pause in the confusion, in the distortion, in the illusion, in the situation, in the hurt? Will you pause for a moment and ask, what is it that I'm fearing the most? Because of this, could I be fearing something? And just think about it for a second. Now, what happens is whenever it's glorious when I get to coach people one-on-one and even in small group, but it's so great that we get to a point that the person is reflecting on what is it really? What's really going on? Let's get to the core. Let's get to our belief system, which usually where fears are hiding. Fears are liars. Fear often lies. It limits, and it's a liability. And we don't often pause because we get stuck on what we think is going on. But really, if we stop for a minute and think, what is it that we're really fearing? It's probably lying, distorting, confusing. It is often limiting our lives. And I'm not talking about being afraid of spiders. I'm talking about a fear in our belief system that is limiting our lives. And it's such a liability, this fear that we often don't even scratch the surface of. This fear is such a liability on the abundant life that we are allowed to have. We just need to choose that. Now, to get to the second part of this message, that really is where the ache is. What I'm finding with a lot of people that I'm working with, and even just having general conversations, is often about how fear motivates us rather than love. How, because we don't usually get to the belief system, because we're caught up in the what we think is really going on, we don't get to the point of what it is that we're really fearing. And so we're realizing that our lives, our responses are motivated by fear. And what I'm trying to encourage people is I hold space for people to be loved perfectly. And that doesn't come from me. But to hold space, to feel and to believe that love is actually more abundant and powerful. It's not a limiter. It doesn't lie. It doesn't distort. It's not confusing. And then this is where the pain point is. I know this to be true. I understand why I'd want to. I'm on right now, not because of fear, but because of love, because I love to share. I love to inspire. I love to spread love. I love to share good news. I love to put out in the airwaves. And when I comment on social media or when I put stuff out, I'm thinking, am I doing this out of motivation of love or fear? And that question alone is so provocative. It shows so much if we're willing to get to that part of the issue. So what really stung the most when I'm holding space for people is deservability. It breaks my heart, but I know it's a human condition that often love is not actually as desirable because fear seems to be what motivates most of us. Love is kind of taken for granted or not that desirable because we don't feel very desirable. We don't feel very loved. We don't feel very deserving. And so we don't want it. We don't feel comfortable when someone loves us well, when someone is trying to care for us or help us, or so this is really up to you. I'm just putting something out there and I'm wondering how it might land with you. And so I'm going to go back to the client situation, clients, but one in particular. And it's this belief system around love, where we can talk about fear a lot. We get it. We have experienced it. We've had hurts. We've had people who've caused us to be self-protective. But I want to challenge us a little bit and think a little bit more about how comfortable are we in the space of being loved, of receiving love, of actually, if we stop for a moment and think, are we motivated more by fear? Do we show up in the world fear-based and do things because of the consequence and ultimately it's a judgment statement. So hang in there with me, because it is so interesting how we kind of on autopilot show up. I keep saying this phrase, from brushing our teeth to brushing our teeth. In the morning and at night, we just show up. And if we stop for a second and think about the day, are we motivated by love or fear? What kind of comes more naturally? Do we do things out of fear? And I like to look at your comments, but this is probably going to hit you and possibly trigger you more than some of the other things that I post. And so you may not be posting here, commenting here. I would love to hear from you. You guys do a great job emailing me or sharing with me on instant messenger or something. But I really want this to provoke us to think about how we show up in this world and how we respond. And if we really are honest, we think, yeah, I'm doing that because I'm fearing not having enough money. Yeah, I'm doing that because I'm fearing being not belonging in this group or in this relationship. Yeah, I'm doing this because I fear that if I don't, I'm not going to be accepted. If I'm fearing, it's so habitual that we don't stop and actually think about it. It's just what we do. Well, yeah, I've had to be guarded my whole life because of human hurts and the freedom. So when I'm with my clients, thank God we don't talk about the thing that he or she thinks she needs to really focus on. It's really what's underneath it, which is also why some people are intimidated to be in a coaching or a group coaching session. It's because I don't want to go there, motivated by fear. And let me just look at my notes real quick before I wrap this up. So this really encourages us to live, if we stop for a second and we're thinking about the fear and how that might motivate us more than love. It allows us, unbeknownst to us, we become more self-sufficient. Do you use the phrase, well, if I don't do it, nobody will? Well, I take care of myself the best, and I'm the best caretaker and provider. And I fear that if I don't do it, then it will fall apart. I fear that if I don't have my hands in all these things, that nobody will do it. Nobody can do it like I can. It just keeps going on. So if you stop for a second and allow yourself to think about it, am I being more self-sufficient and self-protective and independent, fearing that's just the way that my life would be best? Again, that is more based on lies that we're believing and limiting. That's a limited life. That's not an abundant life. And it is a liability on the fullness and the freedom that is afforded to you. Closing this up, I feel like everything I do is trying to be saturated in perfect love. Now, perfect love has no judgment. No judgment. I'm not judging myself, which I could be my own worst critic. So I know that if I am judging, that is not perfect love, that is fear. That is fearing of how I show up, who I am. Am I enough? I'm not enough. And ultimately, that's what it boils down to, that I'm not enough, that I'm not strong enough, I'm not capable enough. But what I try to do is open this window wider for perfect love. And I'm finding that intimidates people, because that then takes faith and trust and hope in something that is unseen, that is yet to be experienced. And then there becomes this love, this deservability. I don't really deserve that kind of love. I've been loved before and it's always hurt. So I have learned by human experiences to be guarded, self-protective, and self-sufficient, so that I don't get hurt by this love. I limit love because I don't want the risk of hurt. So look at how simple the language shifts from love to fear. And perfect love casts out all fear, wipes it out. But we don't know to go to that level because we think we're doing it right. But really, it's self-sufficiency, it's independence. It is based on lies. It's based on past hurts. And perfect love is free. Perfect love has no judgment and condemnation and blame and shame and this guilt that we carry. So all that to say, what has weighed heavy on my heart is hearing over and over and over again how love is so misunderstood and misconstrued. And yet, as much as I feel this, I also, in a greater sense, which is why I keep doing it, I don't get weighted down by these distortions and these lies that people, and including myself, I can easily, if I wasn't so self-aware and leading an intentional life, I could easily get trapped in that as well. I know how to recognize it now and do something about it, choose love over fear. But as much as I know that I do feel it, I feel bad that so often people have this this distortion of love, that it hurts and it's scarier than, and it's easier to be in fear. It's just, I've seen it again and again and again. And so, but what I know and what I've experienced and what I offer, because I experience it, I allow it in, I get filled up by perfect love. And then that's what overflows from me. And I can hold space for people. And I believe it. I believe, and I've experienced perfect love. I have faith in it, even if I can't see it in the moment and experience in the moment. And there's a real current situation that's fearful. Okay. I know how to choose love. So I'm not intimidated by it. I'm not coming on now to share more fear. I'm actually coming on to say that if anybody, as they've been listening to this, thinks, you know what, because of this conversation, it's so interesting. Yeah, I didn't even realize how I am more motivated by fear and not as motivated by love. Didn't even realize it. So apparently it is time to stop using my voice tonight. I'm going to go enjoy my family. My husband and son came home from hockey, close the night down with them. And thank you so much for just taking a moment to listen to this coaching insight, praying that it blesses you, it incites you to really think about, am I more motivated? What motivates me? What is the fuel in my relational tank, in how I show up at work, or in what I choose to do, or what I choose to say in life? Is it backed up mostly by fear or by love? And I pray that you reach out if you're ready to just, it could be a session or two, or it could be being part of a group, or just having a conversation with me, and or just showing up on these lives and being willing. This is it. Being willing to be loved. That you trust me, that when I speak, I'm speaking from a place of love. And it might be sometimes challenging, but then I'm speaking from a place of love. So I just wanted to mention that. I would love it if we would all get to a point where we are aware and intentional, so that we can choose, because we're not a victim of it, that we can choose. We choose it, love or fear. And so often when I'm speaking with people, which is why I'm so glad that they're my clients, and I get to that point, they get to that point that it's a deservability. I don't feel I deserve. I don't feel like I'm worth it. I don't feel like I'm good enough for that type of love. I feel like I've done too much. I've heard that before too. I knew I was going to close up, but I want to mention this. I've done too much bad. If you only knew. I've heard that before. I just don't deserve it. I'm exempt from it. I'm not allowed to have it. Okay, my voice is telling me I gotta go. I love you all. Bye.